Here's a map. I have tried to map out the universities in the ancient times until the 11th or 12th century. And you know, there are so many universities. You can see that every part of India is covered. So far, the oldest one we have found is in Takshashila, which is today in Pakistan, which seems to be at least 6th century BCE, but must be definitely older than that. Then we have Sharda Peeth, we have Purushapura, Varanasi. In the Bengal Bihar side, you see a cluster of universities, Nalanda, Udantapura, Bikrampur, Jagaddala. Then you come to the south, so many mathas, so many agraharas. There's Kanchipuram. There's Kantalur Shala in Kerala, which was called the Nalanda of the South. And actually it had even more subjects than Nalanda, because it even had martial arts and such subjects as well. The interesting thing is that the people did not stay confined to their regions. So the professors and students traveled to the institution of their choice. Just like today, we have students going to Manipal, going to IIT Kharagpur, wherever they want to study. In those days, they did the same. So in Nalanda, for example, there were two professors, Thiramati and Gunamati. They were the ones who set up Vallabhi University in Gujarat, and then they went to Nalanda to teach. Then we also had gurus who came from Kanchipuram, who moved to Nalanda. We had from Kashmir, there was a professor who taught in Vikramshila. So we can see that everybody's traveling. And there's an interesting story from Katha Sarit Sagara, where a Brahmin person says that I am going to send my son to study in far off Vallabhi, even though I am in Gangetic Plain. I think Vallabhi is a better place to study. And we conjecture that's because Vallabhi was specialized in political science, business, and whoever graduated from Vallabhi would get into government services very easily. So he was sending his son to Vallabhi. And that was more than 1,500 years ago. And also it was important, once the students finished their education in any of these universities, they needed to travel. Their gurus would tell them to travel, go and experience different parts of India, go and experience discomfort, different kinds of weather, different people, and that was the way. Practical learning and traveling was very important for the students. So this is Bhaskaracharya. The funny thing is that most people are familiar with Newton, Einstein, but if you ask them about Bhaskaracharya today, they know nothing about him. Does anyone know which university he taught in? Bhaskaracharya? So he was from Ujjaini University. Ujjaini University was a place you went to study if you had an aptitude for maths. So whoever graduated from Ujjaini, they would say, oh, he's a math genius. He has to be super intelligent. So he formulated so many interesting rules for solving equations. He was the first one to use a decimal system. And before him, it's not just him. If you go back, there's a lineage. Brahmagupta was before him, and he was the first to use zero as a number in its own right. So what to do, what happens when you add zero to a number, what happens when you subtract zero from a number. He made all those rules, and he followed, Bhaskaracharya followed in his footsteps and went beyond. He discovered differential calculus. So he's been called one of the most brilliant brains ever in the world. This is quite recognizable, I'm sure, Nalanda. Now, when you see Nalanda today, it's all crumbling ruins. I also visited this place. And then the only way we get to know what it looked like is when you read the autobiography of Yuan Sang and Yi Jing. So what Yuan Sang said is that it was the most beautiful campus he had ever seen. It had a huge gate all around the campus. And when you entered, he said the place was full of lakes, ponds with lotuses blooming in them. And these were tall buildings. So they were, for example, the library was 9-storied. And he said that if you went to the main building, the top story, when you looked out, you would see splendid sunsets, you would see brilliant moonlit nights. And he said that you can see the pride he feels on studying in this place. And then he said that at the entrance, there was a big statue of Buddha. And there were 8 halls in the campus, in the building. And there would be 100 lectures in a day, and the lecture halls would be full, and students would not miss a single lecture. That was the kind of learning. And Nalanda in those days offered a wide range of subjects. So it had something for everybody. So a lot of students. There were about 8,500 to 10,000 students. And there were 1,500 teachers. So you can imagine the student-teacher ratio is so good. And not to forget the admission test, which was so hard that only 20% students would make it. 80% would be eliminated. And probably that's the reason why we have so many universities are joining the Nalanda, Vikramshila. They're all at short distance from each other. Possibly they came to, to absorb more students because so many were being eliminated. So the other universities came near them. And there were also coaching centers. So outside the village, in the villages surrounding Nalanda, there are records of teachers who were preparing students to crack the entrance examination for Nalanda.